Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About House. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Today is Green Day.
Green Day.
We are wearing green. Christmas party. This Christmas party. The cost, what we have to wear is something Christmassy.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be an ugly sweater, actually.
Yeah, I don't have any ugly sweaters, unfortunately.
So this is a sweater. It's about as ugly as it's going to get.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We've got two great videos, but we're going to break them apart into two separate. We don't want to put them all together. It would be too long. Two things are happening simultaneously in the market, not only in Vegas, but of course nationally. One is home prices are accelerating. Like the rate home prices are appreciating is going up. We've got all that data we're going to show you. The second thing is the mortgage rates peaked a few weeks ago and they've been decelerating, declining. So we've got a bunch of data and a bunch of charts on the trend and where home prices look like they're going to be in 2024. Okay, so this is what we're going to first do. We've got three different companies came out with their home price estimates. We've got all the data, or with the home price year over year. They're all indexed home prices, okay? So here's the main article. Home prices kept rising even as mortgage rates surged, S&P case Schiller says. So these home prices were looking back a couple months ago, but mortgage rates were increasing during that time. Why was that happening even with, because the conventional wisdom is mortgage rates should have going up would make home prices fall.
So, we've talked about this a lot. So a couple of things. One is just this pent-up demand that, that the dam's going to break, right? At some point, people are just going to go, I'm just done with this. I'm going to get on with my life. So I think that was part of it. I think the other part is where as we head into the end of the year, so that's a pretty popular time to wrap up the year with purchasing a piece of real estate because people want to take advantage of whatever tax incentives and write-offs there are that come with closing on a house. The other thing to kind of keep in mind is I think people have kind of figured this out that home interest rates were bound to peak pretty soon, and it's very likely that they will go down in 2024 for a number of reasons. One, because they've been going up for such a long time, so it is time for them to come down because this is a very cyclical type of situation. I think the other reason is because 2024 is an election year, and so that usually indicates more favorable economic conditions.
We said in January of 2022, you can go back and watch the video, 18 months is what we said, right? Interest rates would go up for 18 months and drop. We were off by 2 months. That's the only prediction we haven't nailed so far. Okay, here's the first quote from the article. Home prices were 3.9% higher in September compared with the same month a year earlier, according to S&P. This is nationally. So home prices up year over year. Interest rates were up too, because interest rates September of last year were still in the high fives, low sixes, and they were in the sevens. Okay, this is what's amazing. Year to date, so January to September, home prices have risen 6.1%. That is much more than the median full calendar year increase in more than 35 years of this index's data. So for 35 years, if you looked at the full year appreciation, it's 6.1% already, only 9 months into the year compared to the last 35 years. That is pretty incredible, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to hit the key points from the Case Schiller article. This is the actual Case Schiller report. We're going to show the data that all three companies did, and then we're going to show the individual cities. One of the cities that's in the top three for appreciation is a city you all know and love. Many of you watch the channel. I wonder what that city could be, okay? Okay, so this is from the you can go find this online. This is the U.S. Corelogic S&P Case Schiller Index. Annual growth moves higher in September, up by 3.9%. You saw that. West Coast housing markets, including San Francisco and Seattle, posted annual gains again, while Midwest areas are experiencing a renaissance in housing demand, particularly in Detroit and Chicago, which is unusual, right?
Well, I think Chicago in particular, I think was probably somewhat expected because they were one of the cities that had one of the largest participations in work from home. So they were bound to come back to work. So when they came back to work in offices, then I think real estate would follow.
Okay. In September, the U.S. Corelogic S&P Case-Shiller Index increased by 3.9% year over year, the third month of annual increases following 2 months of annual declines. We'll show that in a second. With the rebound in appreciation this year, home prices are now up 1.3% compared with June peak. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, the peak to trough. We're already above the peak. There is no peak to trough. We're peak to peak. We're above the peak. Mm-hmm. So if you want to count that little decline that happens literally every single year, we're going to show that in the data, that was the crash. Well, you could call that every year. You could come out in June, July, August and say, housing's getting ready to decline in value. It happens every year. You're not like, that's like saying the sale of children's toys will increase in December because I have predicted it will, for Christmas presents. Okay. They were up 1.3% compared with the June peak and 6.6% from the January bottom. Okay, so Juana, here's the big chart. These are the three different groups, the three different companies that measured prices, okay? Case-Shiller, FHFA, which you guys have probably seen us do some FHFA videos. This is not the FHA. This is the Federal Housing Finance Agency. They're the ones who basically regulate the Fannie and Freddie rates before they go to Fannie and Freddie, right? FHFA loans. And the Corelogic one. A couple things. They all report basically either home prices went up month over month or down month over month. Now, Juana, when you look at this, July, August, September, October, November, December, January of last year, home prices declined.
Right.
Anywhere from 0 to 0.9%.
Right.
But isn't that normal seasonal trend?
That's completely seasonal. I mean, if you look back without the pandemic, then you're going to find this is very typical.
Okay. This is what's interesting. If you go all the way to the left, the beginning of 2022, remember that was that spike in home prices. That's why you see that substantial amount of home appreciation, 2% a month, for example, Case-Shiller in March of 2022. This is what's interesting. Now go to the right side of the chart. February, March, April, all in the green, right? May, June, July, August, September. But look at July, August, September of last year. That's where it was, home prices were declining already. Because remember, it peaked in June. So in July, August, September, they were declining. There were some pretty big declines those months. But this year, substantially higher. Substantially higher. Actually, we've done this, talked about this on our videos for Vegas, that it's unusual that home prices should still be going up in Vegas in August, September, October, November, and they have been.
Right. So we credit that obviously to the lack of inventory, right? So when we have less supply, more demand, then that is going to, at the very least, support prices or cause prices to go up.
Okay. Now, where inventory is super low right now.
It is super low. And I think I've heard a lot of people think that we're going to have a very robust spring as far as sellers bringing their homes onto the market. And I think that there's some truth to that. Okay. I've seen probably more homes than usual go off the market this November. And I think that those homes will come back absolutely after the new year. So I think we will have a pretty decent spring selling season. So I think buyers will have more choices. Now, we're going to couple those buyers having more choices with interest rates that are on the downhill slide. So it should be a very exciting spring. Okay.
If interest rates do what they look like they're going to do now, so the 10-year Treasury hit 5%, and I think it's down to 4.2. Okay. That's a substantial decrease.
It is.
0.8. Remember, the Fed hasn't changed rates in months, but the market, the 10-year Treasury is down substantially. What was going to happen in the spring if the inventory stays low and mortgage rates drop substantially? Let's say they go into the low 6s, maybe the high 5s.
It's going to be a very exciting spring if that's the case.
Define exciting for who? Because people getting ready to buy a house may not be, they may think that they're excited. Ooh, finally the rates are down. Houses are now affordable again.
I think it'll be exciting for everyone.
Okay.
I think it's going to mean buyers will have to really put their best foot forward and maybe pay above appraised value if you're competing in multiple offers, and particularly if you're competing with cash offers. So I think buyers will have to absolutely up their game. I think sellers will have a lot of buyers from which to choose, which Sellers like to do that. But as much as sellers like to have buyer's permission to choose, it's also nerve-wracking for sellers, right?
Yeah.
Because you have all these buyers and they all say, we're willing to do all this. And then, of course, sometimes people's eyes are bigger than their wallets, and they end up not being able to go through with it. And then the house comes back on the market again, and then the seller has to entertain a whole new set of offers and make the same choices again. So exciting as in a lot of activity, a lot of emotions going on.
You have a couple listings hitting the market, don't you? Mm-hmm. Very nice. Okay, here's the cool part. This is the part we liked about the article. However, the strongest month-over-month price acceleration from the previous month was again recorded in West Coast markets, particularly Las Vegas, San Francisco, and Phoenix, which moved San Francisco from annual declines to annual gain of 0.5% in September. Here is the chart, okay? This is the appreciation, the month over month. Detroit, you can see all the way to the left, that's Detroit. The blue is September of 2023, and then the appreciation in a month. And then the light blue is the average from 2015 to 2019. So when you see Las Vegas, so you have Detroit, and Detroit normally drops 0.1%, which basically means it's flat. It's going down like a lot of markets do in September. But Detroit was up 0.7%. Now remember, that's in a month. Mm-hmm. So that's like an 8 or 9% annual rate. Vegas is normally at 0.5%. It's up 0.6%. So Vegas is beating the long-term historical trends. Mm-hmm. But that's really before people get all upset and say, you're making this up. No, this is Corelogic's data. Okay, not making this up. I had somebody come on and say, home prices have already fallen 15% this year in Vegas. Like, seriously? Have you looked at the data? They're up 7 or 8% since January. And this is just goes to prove that 0.6% in a month is about 8% on an annual basis.
Right. So I want to kind of dispel that a little bit. So we have people, you're right, saying that home prices have fallen, whatever. But I think people are looking at list price versus sale price, not when we're looking at sale price versus sale price. So if I take a $500,000 house and I put it on the market for $1 million, and then I keep having to have price reductions and it finally sells for $500,000, well, it sold for what it should have sold for. It doesn't mean that, I had to take a 50% haircut.
What I think is most amazing about this is that a lot of these markets where, like Washington and Chicago, normally prices are down, they're up, and home prices go, the actual appreciation of home prices in a lot of these markets is extremely strong. Like this idea of a housing crash or housing being whatever, I'm not saying it's not harder to buy a house. It sure is, because mortgage rates are higher.
Well, I think it's harder to buy a house because there's just lack of choice.
There's a lot of look, I'm just going to say this, it's going to piss people off. If you are trying to compare housing based on the model in your brain that you looked at housing 10, 20, 30 years ago, it's not going to work. 10 or 20, 30 years ago, people were carrying 10, 12, 15, 18% mortgage rates. They were far more likely to just go and sell a house as soon as they moved or as soon as it got tough. Sell the house and get that rate out and then go buy another house at a lower rate. The opposite is happening today. People don't sell their house to go buy another house. If they've locked in a 1.9% interest rate, they're not selling that house. They're like, why would I sell the house? My payment is so small. I'm just going to keep the house and let it appreciate. I don't need the cash from it. That inventory is locked up forever. We're not just talking about institutions that have bought houses, right? Is this because you and I have basically pretty much just done listings? Mm-hmm. The people you talk to that are thinking about selling, this is always the issue for them, why they're not selling.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I had a chat with somebody just a few days ago, and this person has, again, one of those lovely mortgages, doesn't have a really high balance. This person would be paying off his house in about 5 years. And he was sitting there going, well, I could totally rent this thing out and get, over $1,000 cleared in my pocket between my mortgage payment and what the going rent is. But I don't know if I should sell it or if I should keep it as a rental. So we had that whole discussion, and everybody's situation is different. So just because he's got a great mortgage rate, that doesn't mean that that's what's best for this point in his life. So everybody's situation is different, and that's why we still have people, even with those 1, 2, 3% mortgage rates who do bring their homes to market, because sometimes that makes sense.
I would say in the last year, there have probably only been 1 or 2 people that we've helped them sell their house that actually really had to sell. Like they just had to do it. There was some super compelling reason, right? Here's another chart. Now, what this chart is this shows the 3 tiers of homes: the bottom third, the middle third, and the top third, and what home prices have appreciated in these markets. If you zoom over to Las Vegas, which is the 5th one from the left, both the low, the medium, and the high tier have had price appreciation. The high tier, though, the most. If you go to Miami, it's the low tier that's had the most. So Phoenix and New York are also 2 other markets where all throughout this housing, but you're seeing this with luxury homes, right? Didn't you guys just sell like a $25 million house or something?
Right. Yeah, we sold a $25 million house. It had multiple offers on it, and I think it went under contract inside of a week.
Any of those VA offers or FHA? Probably not.
They were all cash offers.
They were all cash?
Enough.
Seriously? $25 million?
Yeah, amazingly enough, they're all cash offers.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you're into $25 million houses, we have a few more listed, so you have not missed out. Please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help you out. We may even have some off-market properties that are not even out there on the internet that you don't know anything about. So, if that's your game, let me know.
Let's talk about that. That generally doesn't work in the middle of the market. $400,000 or $500,000 houses.
No.
If you and I were flipping a house and we were going to put it back in the MLS, we would definitely put it in the MLS. Right. We wouldn't try to sell it ourselves, put a sign out front, right? You and I know that's how to get the most money.
Right.
What are objections for these super rich people for wanting their house in an MLS? And how is it that some of these homes don't hit the MLS, but they still get a bunch of people that they still sell for, more money than the person maybe paid a couple years ago?
Oh, absolutely. So when you're talking about the ultra luxury market, people value their privacy above all else.
Okay.
But it's not just the sellers that value their privacy, so do the buyers. So they are looking for those homes that are off market because they do want to purchase something that hasn't been seen by the general public. Because when they do purchase that property, they don't want everybody else to have seen their house.
Okay.
So again, when you're talking about the ultra luxury, privacy is probably the most important thing to them. It's more important than price.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That is all the data for price appreciation. It is highly likely, my opinion. I mean, I'm a bit shocked. I did not. We both said we thought in June prices would go sideways and kind of figure it out, maybe drop a little. They've been continued to go up. That's kind of surprised me a little bit. Even with mortgage rates going up, I think they peaked at 7.72 or something like that. They're down to 7.2%. These are the Freddie, forget all the non-performing type things.
Non-conforming.
Non-conforming. But I think that if we go into the fall, mortgages are back into the 6s, which is extremely likely, or in the spring. Mortgages are in the 6%. We still have low inventory. I think it's to be absolutely crazy. We're going to do a whole other video we'll probably make it in the next couple of days. It'll come out Monday or Tuesday, and it'll be what's going on with mortgages, because the forward-looking stuff is actually eye-watering. It
is. And it's interesting. I've been hanging out with new home builders recently, and they are they're doing something that I haven't seen them do in a while. They're actually being nice, and they're offering to pay some closing costs. Okay. Particularly if you close this year. So if you are interested in purchasing a new home, please go ahead and reach out to us, because I've got the lowdown on just about every builder in town and what's going on. So do reach out to me, and I'll be happy to give you some information. They are doing some pretty cool stuff. And to Todd's point, as far as mortgage rates, they're doing some pretty cool stuff on the mortgage end side, particularly when you're using their lender. Then they'll definitely do a deal, because remember, when you're using their lender, they see the same thing that we all see, the writing on the wall, that mortgage rates are going down. So while it looks like you're getting this phenomenal deal at 5% interest rate on your mortgage, they know that rates will be 5% before you know it. And they're totally okay with front loading that, those few months of buying down the rate until it reaches that point.
None of these builders indicated they have hundreds of houses that
No.
they're holding back.
No. Okay. So everybody that I've been to, I have not seen anybody that has more than 2 houses.
Oh, so we're talking large builders.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not even talking 2 houses that they can close this month. I'm talking 2 houses that they can close between now and mid-February.
Okay, so this idea that somebody came in the comments and said, Todd, there's thousands of houses that new home builders are built that are sitting there empty, waiting.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
If they are sitting there empty, it's because they're finishing them and they have buyers. But as far as available inventory, everybody's got a couple, and those closings are anywhere between December and mid-February. So if you're talking about standing inventory, then they don't have more than a couple homes between now and mid-February.
Very cool.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. So did you like it? Was it interesting? Did you love Todd's charts? Give him a high five for the cool charts. Remember to leave your real estate related comments. We appreciate them. Like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the video, because we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers.
We're 150 away from 10,000.
Right. So, we need your contribution to the effort, okay? This is your contribution to the effort. If you appreciate what you hear, if we entertain you, if we exasperate you, subscribe anyway so we can hit our 10,000 goal. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.